Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today we're diving into another edition of The Explainer, where we take these incredibly complex global reports and turn them into clear, visual roadmaps for you. If you've been paying attention lately, you already know the world of transportation is changing, but we're not just looking at cars on a highway today. We are unraveling a massive macroeconomic detective story. We're going to explore the massive interconnected global shift in transport mapped out right in the latest International Energy Agency data. This is a story of energy crises, shifting trade winds, and just rapid technological evolution. So grab your magnifying glass and let's get focused in.
Okay, let's dive into this. 20 million. That is the absolutely jaw-dropping number of electric cars sold globally in the year 2025 alone. To put that into perspective, that means 1/4, literally 25% of all new cars sold on the entire planet were electric. This isn't some distant projection for the future, you guys. This is the reality right now. We are witnessing a fundamental rewiring of consumer habits and industrial output on a massive scale.
Section 1. The EV sales boom. Breaking niche markets.
Section 2. Fueling the shift. Macroeconomic forces. So what urgent macroeconomic forces are suddenly making this mass adoption so economically irresistible right now?
Well, the stark contrast between the old paradigm and the new is practically jumping out at us. The ongoing energy crisis, which is heavily impacted by the conflict in the Middle East, has really brought our global reliance on oil imports into sharp focus. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that as oil prices skyrocketed, the total cost of ownership for electric vehicles became pretty much irresistible. Look at that metric on the right. The annual fuel cost savings for an EV driver in the European Union grew by a massive 35% in a single year. High oil prices are literally doing the marketing for EVs.
And here is the sheer scale of those individual choices. In 2025, the global EV fleet displaced 1.7 million barrels of oil every single day. Think about how much gas that is just not being pumped at stations around the world. For countries relying heavily on imports, this isn't just an environmental win, right? It is a huge, game-changing shift in national energy security.
Section 3. The global trade reshuffle. Shifting supply. Let's look at exactly who is physically manufacturing these vehicles. Looking at the origins of the automakers supplying the world's EVs reveals an overwhelming manufacturing dominance. Chinese automakers supplied a staggering 60% of all global electric car sales in 2025. Meanwhile, European and North American automakers were each responsible for only about 15%. This is a monumental restructuring of global automotive manufacturing power. It's basically a complete reshuffle of the board.
And this brilliantly illustrates the physical reality of this shift. It's just staggering. Intense domestic competition in China is squeezing profit margins, which pushes manufacturers to seek higher profits overseas. As a result, Chinese EV exports completely doubled to a record high of over 2.5 million vehicles in 2025. What you are witnessing is the physical reshaping of the global auto trade, happening right now on massive roll-on, roll-off cargo ships crossing the world's oceans.
But you know, this export boom brings some incredibly complex international policy implications. The influx of these vehicles is dramatically changing emerging markets. Get this, in 2025, affordable imports from China accounted for 55% of electric car sales in countries outside of Europe and the United States. Just 5 years ago, that number was less than 5%. In Southeast Asia, more than half of the electric cars sold were Chinese brands. This heavy reliance on imports is causing some nations to totally rethink their strategies, with some looking to tighten import rules to support the development of their own domestic manufacturing.
Now, while the global trajectory points straight up, different regions clearly have their foot on the accelerator at different speeds. In Europe, driven by strict CO2 standards, sales jumped 30%. In China, EVs hit an incredible 55% of all car sales. And Southeast Asia, they are the breakout star here. Annual sales more than doubled there to reach a nearly 20% market share, led by nations like Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand. So we've talked a lot about passenger cars, the vehicles sitting in our driveways. But who is actually building all these cars? And what about the massive commercial vehicles, moving them and frankly, moving everything else we buy around the world?
Section 4. Electrifying heavy-duty transport. Commercial logistics.
The heavy-duty sector is moving incredibly fast. So, the crucial point is, in 2025, global electric truck sales doubled to capture 9% of the market. And in China, the adoption curve is even steeper. Literally, 1 in 4 trucks sold there now runs on electricity. Thanks to plummeting battery prices and a highly integrated supply chain, the total cost of ownership for electric trucks is already highly competitive in China, and it's projected to hit parity with diesel trucks in Europe by 2030.
Section 5. The future of smart EVs. Software and silicon.
The cars of tomorrow? Actually, scratch that. Increasingly today are what the industry calls software-defined vehicles, or SDVs. Think of your car less like a mechanical engine and more like a giant smartphone on wheels. It relies on centralized software that can be updated remotely, right over the air. With falling prices for sensors and the integration of AI, the core value of the vehicle is officially shifting from the physical chassis to the code. We're talking software managing everything from automated steering to squeezing those extra few miles out of your battery.
Let's move to and see how this builds across the next decade. The trajectory is just stunning. Right now, in 2025, driverless electric taxis are already operating commercially in over 20 cities. By 2030, electric truck costs hit parity with diesel in the EU, totally revolutionizing global logistics. And by 2035, exploratory scenarios project EVs will hit 50% of all global car sales and an astonishing 90% in China. We are looking at a global fleet of up to 510 million electric vehicles in just 10 years.
Which leaves us with this final, absolutely vital question to ponder. We are witnessing a massive displacement of oil demand, a complete rewiring of global trade networks, and the rapid rise of software-defined AI-driven machines. As artificial intelligence and energy security accelerate this transition away from fossil fuels, who will ultimately control the digital and physical infrastructure of our transport future? It's a high-stakes geopolitical and technological race, and the roadmap is being drawn right now. Thanks for joining me on this Explainer Focused Learners. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.